Imagine rebelling and falling from grace that you once had. Then you start mingling with man, knowing it's forbidden. Then you start having relations with women, which is against God's rule. Then these things, these angels, they fall, like I said, they intermingle. The women give birth to these serpent, as they call them, children. Now, I don't necessarily know if this statue is real or fake. However, just imagine this being laying in bed with another one, a human. And that human has the offspring of these babies. And then as the baby gets bigger, the wrath of God comes. You really think God, after he told you and forbid you to do that, is going to have mercy? No, he will not have mercy on you. Those things made that choice to not listen to God. And it was their own stupidity for getting kicked out in the first place, because they were the ones that made the choice to rebel. And then once they were kicked out, like I said, they started messing with the genome or whatever, the genetics of man. The baby, whether in this picture or not, those children back then who were not created in the image of God, were not fully children. They grew fast. There were some that came out and became chariots. Not like cars or nothing, but cherubellums or something like that. They came on, they were already within a few little bits there. I don't know if it was days or weeks, but they were able to stand up and do stuff and things that babies nowadays, well, they obviously don't do. God has every right to have wrath and anger towards what had been going on. Which is why, I posted a video earlier. These people didn't care. What it must have been at that point of time to see that. Then you got this little hieroglyph that I found. That's what I call them. They are half human and half, I don't even know. It's called fallen angel. They look ugly, most of them. And remember, most of these things could grow, like I told you before, quite large before the flood, because the atmosphere, everything was it was tropical. Everything was warm. Everything grew fast. And these things, the things back then were hundreds and hundreds of years old. So naturally, the offspring of these things were ugly, had a lot of muscle, were stronger than the average man, and grew to, like I said, ginormous sizes. Like I said, I've been in 8-story buildings, and you could see the biblical verse of grasshoppers and stuff like that. These things were massive. And like I said, we're lied to about a lot of stuff. We are microscopic compared to what things were back then. Like, I'm not saying that the average human was 15 feet. I'm not saying that at all. I think that we were average. The babies that these women gave birth to were not your average children. They came out average at one point, but grew to just ginormous size. And I think people need to understand that. Biblically, it tells you, gives you numbers, and it talks about it. The flood wiped everything out, and there was a lot more to that flood than just water not developing, but swallowing up everything that was going on down there. Because these things, these fallen angels, sinned against everything they could stick their stuff. And it's their own fault. Because they didn't have to go with Satan and believe what he had to say. But they did. They were fooled. They were kicked out. And then they started, like I said, messing with everything. Anyway, guys, thought it was rather interesting that I could cover this, and I'll continue to look more into it. Like, there are things on that site that I found that I really look at. I don't really believe everything because some of the stuff is photoshopped. But the stuff I showed you today was not photoshopped. I look really close, really carefully. Anyway, it's like I said, something huge happened. Okay? Something huge happened. And I hope you guys stick around, because I'm going to investigate this a little further, because this gets really interesting. The deeper you go, it gets more interesting. The government can't hide everything. It's impossible. Back then, they probably could, because there was nobody actually investigating it. They were lied to, and some of the stuff just disappeared into thin air. So I think that use the internet wisely. Don't believe everything you see. And I'll keep looking into it because, like I said, I'm finding interest in it now. And I don't have any crazy music to play. Just note that it's crazy. Talk to you then.